Good afternoon and welcome to the Cornerstone Forum. I am Stephanie Reed, the Senior Director of Culture and Communications in University Finance and Administration. Next slide. Before we begin, please note that we are recording today's session. All attendees have been placed on mute. If you have questions for the presenters, you can submit them through the Q&A function in Zoom. We also will address questions throughout the meeting. And all meeting materials will be available for download on the Cornerstone website as well as the Finance and Administration website following today's meeting. And with that, I will turn it over to Mike Gower, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer and University Treasurer.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here for the Cornerstone Forum. We are holding these in order to give the broadest population that we can get to in the university current updates as to all the initiatives that are going on under the umbrella of Project Cornerstone. And the last one of these, I gave some history about where did this start, and where has it gone till today. So I will be giving you a little bit of an update on the roadmap and turning over to my colleagues who will fill in some more detail around some of those. So to introduce the rest of the panel, next. Ellen Law from Office of Information Technology Enterprise Application Services, AVP there. She will give us an update on the Student Experience Improvement Initiative. Next. Michele Norin, our Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer, will give an update on the Common App as it relates to enrollment throughout the university. And last but not least is John Fahey, who will talk about Scarlet Journey and the HR payroll transformation, the latter being a significant project for us. Then we want to welcome Knaus, Managing Director of Systems and Technology from the Rutgers University Foundation. She will give a really detailed view of the projects that are going on within the foundation, alumni relations, and how important those are to the university as a whole. So thanks for joining us today, Candy. So the roadmap of current initiatives is here. I mentioned Scarlet Journey, which really has to do with the best possible uses of the Salesforce constituent relationship management functions throughout the university. And you'll note here that the things that are presently under construction, if you will, or in planning are the foundation and alumni relations that we'll hear about. Second phase of enrollment management, and you'll hear more about that as well. And then ultimately athletics. The Common App was aligned with that. It was an opportunity for us to join a large consortium of institutions in terms of having a single way for students to find us to apply to our various programs. Next. The Student Experience Improvement Initiative has been going on for some time. The student financial planning stabilization is really the most important stage at this moment, along with processes and alignment of how do we manage student finance throughout the university. And Ellen will be speaking about this. We are in the planning stages, the early stages, working stages of the Oracle Student Management Cloud, which will finally give us an opportunity to retire the two systems, where this is where we still have two systems from the merger with UMD&J, retire the two systems, which are quite long in the tooth. Procurement, I'll give some more detailed information about this, but we've had some projects going on, a couple of which are behind us now, and one big project that is underway and will come online next calendar year. And finally, the big initiative, if you will, the whole process review, reengineering, and implementation of a new HR payroll system, the Oracle Human Capital Management Cloud. And John will talk about that. The chart of accounts phase 2 is related to that, in that we have to make some changes to the chart in order to align appropriately with how the HR system will be running. Next. So this gives you a view into projects that we're running through University Procurement Services. Lease administration was a major implementation that also related back to work of the University Controller's Office. It had to do with, in technical sense, implementing government accounting standards, in particular around leased property, leased equipment, and then most recently, software licensing, which is considered to be a lease, and how we have to account for those in our financial statements. So the phase 1 for GASB 87, which was the original lease initiative, was launched in July of 21. Again, that was real estate and equipment. We launched in July of 23 the initiatives around IT leases. Those are in place now. And we've also added data and reporting to that system. There will be a phase 3 coming up where we'll be integrating all leases and actually turn this into a full lease administration and management system, something that we have not had before. The other initiative is around travel and expense management system. Let's see, a year ago, or maybe 2 by now, introduced the SAP Concur online booking tool that provided self-service opportunity to book travel for hotels, train, airlines, rental cars in one place. Now we are implementing the rest of the Concur system, and that is scheduled to launch in mid-year of calendar 24. It will be focused on travel expense management, and will have functionality that allows for the integration of expenses that are charged to university credit cards. It will also allow for us to have a more user-friendly expense management reimbursement process. But likewise, this is really going to positively impact travel and expense management. This program launch was delayed. We were going to start it in the beginning of calendar 24, but due to additional work that was needed in integrating with the banks that are part of the travel card, procurement card process, we needed more time, and this allows for additional testing and user training. So with that, if there are no questions, Stephanie, I think you indicated there were no questions. I'd like to turn it over to Ellen.
Thank you, Mike. So can we just switch the slide? Okay. So the Student Experience Improvement Initiative has been around for a while and is focused on continually assessing people, processes, and technology in order to enhance our service levels and ultimately our students' experiences. Last year, we implemented our new student financial planning system. We are now in our 2nd year and thankfully experiencing a bit smoother cycle. Our priority is continuing to stabilize the process and the system. A financial aid reporting dashboard was also created, and we're continuing to develop and enhance reports that would help to provide information to our units in supporting the aid process and student inquiries. With the new financial aid system in place, we've also begun a 3-month assessment of the Student Accounting Office, University Enrollment Services, and the financial aid and billing functions across the one-stop and the campus units. The goal of this assessment is to identify opportunities to enable a more optimized, student-centric operating model. The project will look at business processes, roles and responsibilities, and each organization and their resources, and develop a set of recommendations for consideration. We'll review and implement the appropriate considerations, which should put us in an improved state as we hope to kick off the Student Management Cloud project early next year, as Mike had mentioned, beginning with the review of the student business processes. And with that, if there's no questions, I will hand it over to Michele.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. And hang on here. Okay, I had to get these windows up. Okay, if you can advance it to the next slide, please. I am very glad to talk about the Common App in terms of where we stand in our accomplishments with this this part of the student experience. As Mike mentioned earlier, the Common App is a way, it's a service, it's an app, a hosted application where students who are wanting to are thinking about going to college or university has a way to basically complete one application that then gets distributed to as many institutions as they would like. And so Rutgers, about a year ago, decided that we wanted to join our sister schools in being one of the institutions that students would want to consider attending university. And so we launched the effort to become part of the Common App. We are joining well over 1,000 other colleges and universities and are glad to participate in a very succinct and streamlined service for our student candidates in terms of how they handle their applications. Our target go live was August 1st. We have achieved that target. The scope for the first phase of this initiative was very focused on first-year undergraduate student candidates, and we are now live on that platform. Huge accomplishment in the fact that we are live in Common App. We are now successfully taking on applications from students. That student information flows into Salesforce for the CRM part of our application process. And so we're seeing applications flowing as we speak, as students submit them into our institution for consideration. This covers all of our chancellor-led units. So it definitely represents every pillar of the institution. We've done a lot of training around this, helping folks get prepared. Our recruitment organizations have been very involved to date, making sure that all the integrations are in place and everybody's ready to sort of handle the new process and take on the applications. We've also connected it into the Marketing Cloud side of Salesforce to allow us to better handle how IDs are established, net IDs and community IDs. And so we have that piece in place as well. I'll reiterate, it's a very significant accomplishment. We're about midway part through our process. November and December are peak times for applications. And so we are now entering into that peak part of the phase. But so far, so good in terms of just how the process is currently behaving and working. Our current status post go live is focusing on reporting and analytics, making sure that we can track the metrics, understand flow of applications, the kinds of applications, all the things that our recruitment experts need to know in terms of the process. And we are also focusing on the payment side for application fees through Transact, which is a new payment tool, billing tool, as well, in terms of handling the fees. Next steps will be to focus on, when we get past this current peak cycle, the next phase will focus on high school transcripts and how those are integrated and how the students can upload those, or we take those into our systems. We will add functionality for transfer students, another major component of our student profile. And we are looking at the requirements that we would need for a direct admit program as well as an enhancement. So those are the things that we're focusing on next. Next slide. And just to give you a feel for the numbers, this is data as of November 6th. This is what it looks like in terms of the number of applications that are coming in. And you can see here where for undergraduates so far, we have taken in a little over 104,000 applications. You can see the breakdown across the chancellor divisions. You can see the breakdown between undergraduate and graduate, where we have another 14,500 or so applications coming in. So we're sitting at about 120,000 applications just through the Common App. We also take in applications through Salesforce for the scope that's not included in Common App. And we have another 12,000 coming in through that channel as well. And so far, it's a significant increase over last year's numbers. And so we are definitely seeing an uptick in, in the benefits of being part of Common App and the number of applications that are coming in. So, so far, so good. All good news on this front as we continue to keep a sharp eye on it as we get through the remainder of the process. With that, I will pause to see if there are questions. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it off to John Fahey to talk about Scarlet Journey and some other aspects to the Cornerstone Initiative.
I think we do have a question, Stephanie.
Okay.
Yep, we do.
Couple of questions.
So our first question is, the financial aid system implementation continues to be problematic. Will you delay the rest of the implementation until that is fixed?
So I'll take that one on. Thank you for that question. And yes, this has been challenging. Even though we're in the second year, second cycle of this. And through the great partnership with the enrollment management offices, the one-stops, Central Financial Aid, student accounting, the partnerships there have been working the issues. And as we noted, or as Ellen noted earlier, we're having examination of the whole process. But as far as implementation is concerned, the resources that we're putting on this stabilization effort are not shared with the student cloud work that will be going on for the new student system. And that work in the coming year is going to be preparatory because we have to do a lot of work in terms of mapping processes at this stage. So they're not going to overlap. And we'll be maintaining the team that will get the student financial aid program into a normal place.
Our next question is for the projects that Ellen spoke about regarding student experience. Can you share who is involved in that project, or are you talking about people only from finance and IT?
I'll take that one, Mike. It's John. So for the first project that we just spoke about, the student financial planning, that was The central offices, such as OIT, PMO, student accounting, billing and cashiering, as well as university enrollment services. But we also had very large participation and inclusivity from all 4 chancellor units, not just from the financial aid offices, but from the vice chancellor's offices, from the enrollment offices, from the registrars, and moving into the second phase of the program that Ellen spoke about for Student Management Cloud. That's the piece that we're starting early next year. We haven't started the outreach yet. That will begin in the coming weeks, but that will include folks from across all university offices. Really, we're looking at all student-facing functions. So we will be reaching out to the campuses, to the unit, to the schools, to all the individual areas to identify the folks to work with us on that program. And as we always do, and we'll talk about it on some of the current programs, we'll have very extensive change management and reach out programs to ensure we are reaching everyone we need to reach. But we are working directly with all of the chancellor-led units as well as all the central offices to ensure we are reaching all the proper stakeholders and end users on all these projects.
Great, thank you. And then our last question for now is, if someone is applying to a program that requires a portfolio, is it better to use the Rutgers application instead of the Common App? And are first marking period grades submitted as part of the self-reported grades, since not all schools will have them released by December 1st?
I'm gonna ask John or Ellen to answer that one.
Yeah, so the first part of that, what I can say is that students who apply through Common App can apply to any of our campuses, schools, programs. Common App has their own, we can supply Common App with some specific questions we would like to ask, and we have done that. But those need to be questions that relate to Rutgers as a whole and are agreed to by all 4 campuses. So we work with all 4 divisions of enrollment to agree on what those questions would be. Once a student actually submits an application through Common App, it is integrated into our Salesforce program and then distributed out to individual schools. So there's the part of your question about if it requires a portfolio. There's also a lot of other supplemental questions and requirements that individual schools and programs may have. They are not part of Common App. What happens is when that application comes into Salesforce and reaches the school reaches directly back out. And that information comes to us through our Salesforce platform, not through Common App. But we get the application through Common App. So even if there is a specific school or program, they can still put their application in. We would do the supplemental piece through our Salesforce and marketing journeys once we receive that application.
Do we have any more questions,
We could
Stephanie?
maybe a second part to that question.
Oh, yes, the second part had to do with submitting grades and timeline for that relative to December 1st.
That I do not know off the top of my head. We can check on that, Stephanie, and get back to check with the enrollment office.
Yeah, I don't think that's any different than it has been in the previous years, where if they're available, they're available. If they're not, they have to come in later. But we will get a definitive answer from the enrollment offices and post that.
We don't have any
Right.
additional questions at this time.
Thanks for all those questions. Keep them coming. With that, I want to turn over to John Fahey to talk about HCM, the HR payroll project.
Okay, so before we continue on our, let's talk about Scarlett during HR, I do want to do a quick poll for everyone. As we talked about, the success of all these programs is very much about engagement and getting everyone involved in part of these programs. So we've been trying to really do a lot more communications, one of which has been we started monthly Cornerstone newsletters. So we just real quickly want to ask the folks on the phone, in the past 6 months, have you received any issues of the Cornerstone newsletter? And we'll just give everyone 1 minute to provide some responses. Thank you.
Looks like the poll is closed at this time. So the results should be on everyone's screens.
Not bad, but
Yeah, we will look at that. The other thing we're doing, and the reason we asked this question, we're looking to how to make sure that gets out to a broader audience. So thank you very much for your responses. Max, if we could go to the next slide, please. So I want to kind of pick up where Michele left off. One of our major initiatives over the last several years has been our constituent relationship management, or what we term as our Scarlet Journey. This is a multi-phase program. It's a multi-year program. This actually started about 4 years ago. The first phase of the program was focused on enrollment management. And 2 years ago, we launched a Salesforce application system. And then, as Michele said, this year we launched Common App and integrated those together. So Common App is now tied to Salesforce. When we launched the original Salesforce application system, it was for all undergraduate schools, with one exception, which was the School of Health Professions. But this year we did integrate them. So we're now in our third application cycle in Salesforce. School of Health Professions is now part of that, including their undergraduate transfer students. We've also used a program called Fontiva, and a lot of schools and campuses are using that for events management around enrollment. So we've updated that system this year as well. And we're also working on a lot of system enhancements. As we're going through our third school year in the new system, we're identifying a lot of things in the local offices and enrollment offices, looking for some enhancements and some additional reporting. So we're continuing to work with the chancellor units to prioritize those items and get those added. We are working on right now things like residency checklists. We are putting additional automations in place. So things like visa status, our EOF checklist, our alumni applications and fee waivers, many of those in legacy systems were manual processes. Some of them still are, and we're in the process of automating them now with these new tools and technologies that we have available. The other population that was not part of the original implementation was our professional schools. So our dental school, our law school, and both of our medical schools. They have very, very specific requirements and use cases around how they receive applications and go through their admissions review processes. However, we are working to integrate those professional schools now. We're currently working with the School of Dental Medicine. We're going through requirements. We plan to launch their integration in the spring. We're working also with the business school of RU Global to allow them to better utilize and take advantage of the functionality of the marketing cloud within Salesforce. We're updating all the fast track criteria for our 24-25 applicants. And we're working on updated transfer applications for the School of Health Professions. Once we complete the integration work with the School of Dental Medicine, we will then begin working with the law school and both of our medical schools to integrate them into this new enterprise-wide environment for enrollment management. So that's where we are. That was the first phase of our Scarlet Journey for enrollment management. As we're going through enrollment management, we also concurrently began phase 2 of the initiative. Phase 2 of the initiative was focused on the CRM implementation for Rutgers Foundation Alumni Relations. So we're working very closely in a partnership with our colleagues in the foundation. Their program is well underway, and I'm going to ask Candy to please give us an update on that. Candy?
Thanks, John. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the foundation's part of the Scarlet Journey. When we started the project, our project goal is, next slide, please. Thank you. Our project goal is really to transform our systems and to advance the operations at the foundation. And in 2022 and 2023, we've really been concentrating on 3 work streams. So we've been working on implementing Salesforce Marketing Cloud as part of the university's enterprise Salesforce Marketing Cloud. We've been implementing Salesforce Commerce Cloud for online giving. And we've been implementing a new CRM, which sits on Salesforce Sales Cloud with a managed package called Affiniquest that sits on top. So next slide, please. So I'm not going to go over this slide in detail. There's a lot on it, and it's probably a little tiny for some people, but this is just a little visual of what our current and soon to be past state of systems and technology at the foundation looks like. As you can see, there's a lot of moving parts and there are a lot of different systems. And in the past, we've had a lot of trouble with them talking to each other. Next slide, please. So this is more closer to what our desired future state is. It's a little bit more streamlined. It's based on cloud technology with a Salesforce focus, and the systems are connected to each other. It's much more modern, and our hope is that it will be easier to manage both for our systems team, but also for our users. Now I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about each of the 3 project streams that we've been working on most recently. So next slide, please. So first I'll start with Marketing Cloud. Phase 1 of Marketing Cloud, we actually launched in September of 2022, and it was to move all of our central email marketing communications off of our legacy system Marketo and onto Marketing Cloud. We still had communications to alumni and donors from schools, units, and alumni clubs going out through Marketo. So our 2023 focus was really on moving that over to Marketing Cloud. So in order to accomplish this, we were working with our implementation partner Huron to design what we call our email concierge product. It's based on the Marketing Cloud platform, but it makes it a lot easier for the club, schools, and units to create and send emails to their target audiences without really having to have technical knowledge of the email marketing tool. So we are, as far as we know, the first college and university to develop a tool specifically for this purpose. And the tool also launched in early September of 2023. So currently, what we'll be working on is enhancements to the email concierge tool based on feedback from the users. We're also onboarding additional clubs, schools, and units to the tool. And we're also working on developing journeys within Marketing Cloud, policies and procedures around the use of Marketing Cloud. And we also plan to start running texting campaigns using Marketing Cloud's Mobile Connect. And then the future steps for Marketing Cloud will actually be to connect Marketing Cloud to our CRM. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. Next slide, please. So this is just a very, very quick and not complete picture of what the email concierge tool looks like. You can define your segment. You can target the segment further based on location. And if you want to communicate with recent graduates or young alumni, you can submit content and images that you want to include in your email. And you also specify the day and hour when you'd like the email to be sent. And in the background, Marketing Cloud actually builds the email based on the content that you enter into the form, and it will send the email at the desired date and time. I wanted to take an opportunity to mention that if there are any schools or units that were using the Foundation's Marketo environment previously, and they haven't moved to the email concierge tool, or any new schools and units who want to communicate with alumni or donors via the email concierge tool, I've included a link to the access request form. So just fill out the form, and our digital communications team will get back to you and get you set up with access to email concierge. Next slide, please. So next, I'm going to talk about Commerce Cloud, which can be found at give.rutgersfoundation.org. We launched Commerce Cloud in mid-September as a replacement for our primary giving site. And the goal of making the move to Commerce Cloud was really to improve our donor experience and reduce the friction to giving. The legacy site is a little hard to navigate and made it difficult for a donor to search for a giving opportunity that was of interest to them. So we really wanted the new site to feel more like a shopping experience, which is an experience that people are much more familiar with. And the new site also gives them an opportunity to create an account. It then allows them to see past giving that they've made on the site, and it also saves some of their information so that transactions are much easier for them in the future. So we are only the 3rd college and university in the nation to move to Commerce Cloud for online giving. So that was a pretty big accomplishment. And in addition to the Commerce Cloud launch, we've actually also launched a new foundation website located at rutgersfoundation.org. And we've also been rebranding the foundation online presence to rutgersfoundation.org. We do have a phase 2 of Commerce Cloud planned, which will begin very shortly. This includes a replacement of other online giving sites that we have that are used for crowdfunding, for Giving Day, and for peer-to-peer fundraising. Having multiple platforms is a challenge. They collect different information, they offer different donor experiences, and it's not ideal. So we're hoping to move all of this to Commerce Cloud and only be collecting gifts via one platform. We have been working with an implementation partner up till now on Commerce Cloud. So during phase 2, we also hope to do a lot of knowledge transfer and really position ourselves in systems and technology to take over the maintenance and further development of the Commerce Cloud site. Next slide, please. So just to give a very, very quick look at what our Commerce Cloud site looks like, it's much easier to search, much easier to use. And if you want to check out the new site, I did include the QR code that will take you to give.rutgersfoundation.org. So you can give it a look. Next slide, please. So the next project I'm going to talk about is the CRM implementation. So we are using a managed package called AffiniQuest. AffiniQuest provides some out-of-the-box customizations for Salesforce so that it works for university advancement. We completed phase 1 of AffiniQuest a few short weeks ago. So our users are currently doing inquiry for biodemo data. They're looking at summary giving information, and they're doing all of the prospect-related data entry tasks like filing activity reports and managing opportunities out of AffiniQuest right now. The focus of phase 1 was really to get the new technology in the hands of our frontline fundraisers. We really wanted to modernize their experience, and we really like Salesforce's mobile capabilities. And although we haven't launched mobile yet, we hope to in the near future, because a lot of our fundraisers are on the road meeting with prospective donors, and having a mobile platform will really benefit them. Salesforce also provides out-of-the-box ability to customize the platform. So we really hope to make the Salesforce platform our own and really position ourselves where the technology is really supporting our business needs. So we did do a full data conversion from our legacy CRM, well, minus the gift component. And we've also developed an interim integration that's moving the biodemo and giving summary data nightly from our legacy CRM into AffiniQuest, because we're not doing maintenance of that data in AffiniQuest yet. We're also moving some data from AffiniQuest back into our CRM related to that prospect data that's being maintained in AffiniQuest, so that we can support some of the legacy reports that we had out there. So we have done a lot of training so far on AffiniQuest and how to use the system. The user adoption has been very good. And we're going to continue to enhance the system based on user feedback. Anybody in the working on an application knows that that's always an ongoing process. Phase 2 of our AffiniQuest project actually began early this week with our discovery sessions. And the focus of phase 2 is going to be on moving basically fully over to AffiniQuest, doing our bio demo data maintenance, managing campaigns, converting our gifts, doing engagement, reporting, and analytics using CRM Analytics and Tableau. And we also hope to put in document management. So our goal next is hopefully next fall to turn off our current CRM and be live on AffiniQuest for all operations at the foundation. So another piece of our project is once we have all the data mapped, we'll also be working on data integrations with other Rutgers enterprise systems, such as students. We load new graduates, and we do take in some financial aid information related to scholarships and scholarship awards. We'll also be working to connect our ecosystem together. So we want to connect Marketing Cloud to AffiniQuest and Commerce Cloud to AffiniQuest, so that all of the systems are talking, and we're really taking full advantage of being on a Salesforce ecosystem. And once we're live on AffiniQuest, we'll also be looking to implement a new system to manage our events. We're currently using Cvent, so we'll be looking for something that fits more with the Salesforce ecosystem. Next slide, please. So just to give you a little glance of where we came from and where we're going, the screenshot on the left actually shows a page of our legacy system. This is my record, so happy to share. And on the right is AffiniQuest, and you can see that it's just a much more modern interface. It's much more easier to navigate. I think our users are really going to enjoy the experience of being on Salesforce. So as you can see, there's a lot of exciting things happening. We're working on a lot of different projects at the foundation. We're very excited and grateful to be part of the Scarlet Journey. And I'd really, while we're here, I'd like to take an opportunity to really thank Mike and Michele and John and Ellen and their teams. We've gotten a tremendous amount of support from the university. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to just thank our foundation team. There have been a lot of people at the foundation that have been involved in this project, and they've all been working very hard over the past couple years to really get us to where we are. So, Stephanie, are there any questions?
Yes, we do have one question right now. Does this, and I believe that this is referring to Marketing Cloud and the email concierge, does this include Rutgers Today now being sent to alumni emails? And is there a way to stop this without stopping all communication because I already receive it at work?
Yeah, Rutgers Today is going out through our Marketing Cloud business unit. So there is a way to stop it. I believe you can opt out to just Rutgers Today, but if you're having any difficulty doing that, definitely reach out to us and we'll be happy to help get that resolved.
That was our last question for now, but just one comment before we transition back to John. If anyone does have questions, please enter them in the chat and we will address them during the session. Thanks.
Great. I'll pass it over to John.
Thank you very much, Candy. Thank you, Stephanie. So again, there's a lot of work going on in the Scarlet Journey. We are not done. We have a lot more work to do. As we talked about in enrollment management and foundation, we will continue on to complete those phases 1 and 2 of our program. Sometime next year, probably later in 2024, we will begin the next phase of our Scarlet Journey program, which is to incorporate athletics. We will also be going back and taking we have it on here as reassess, research and corporate engagement. The reason for that is originally 6 years ago when we developed a roadmap for this program, research administration and corporate engagement were phases that we had closer to the end, actually after athletics. But a lot of the requirements and a lot of the functionalities and opportunities that we saw there are actually being handled by the foundation implementation. So I talked earlier, we had a question about who's involved in these projects, and I talked about the need to really collaborate and include more stakeholders and resources from the university. Candy talked a lot about working with programs and units in schools. We also are working very closely with research administration, Michael Zwick's team and the Office for Research in our foundation implementation. So a lot of that corporate engagement piece and the research piece are being covered. We will come back when those implementations are complete to see if there are additional opportunities and more work we can do to enhance those areas. So that's why it's on here as a reassessment. And then we will always continue to evolve our roadmap. We believe there are going to be many, many more opportunities in the future. Salesforce is a very powerful platform. We've got a lot of things that we're building into it. You heard Candy talk about being the first nation or the first school in the nation for one of our programs, the third school in the nation for another program. So we're continuing to identify more opportunities with this power of this technology we have. So we will continue to roll that out to better service the university. Before I move on to HR payroll, are there any other questions?
None at this time.
So if we can move to the next slide, please. The last program we want to give an update on today, and as Mike indicated earlier, this honestly right now is a very, very large and one of probably our major initiative in activity right now, the HR payroll transformation initiative. So this is really, it's designed to really transform the way human resources and payroll processing services are delivered across the university. We're looking at standardized practices, definitely improving collaboration, and really moving more towards that single identity and culture. This is a multi-year program. It will include a system implementation, but it is not purely an implementation project. as many of our previous Cornerstone projects were. So where we are right now in the program, we started this earlier in 2023. We completed our technical requirements gathering. We finished that up in the summer. We kicked off the functional business process reviews. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but the functional business process reviews is really focused on the operational tasks that are performed by everyone who touches HR and payroll. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. We've established a design review board. We've kicked off our what we call IDP, our interactive design and prototype. We'll talk about how that's working and who's included in that. And we have kicked off our change agent network for this initiative. So we're continuing to work on our process reviews, our design, and our change agent network. We are preparing to begin the system configuration for phase 1 of the program. So we'll move on to our configuration and testing. We'll complete the current state reviews, and then we'll move into future state in March of next year. So we go to the next slide. I'll give you a little more detail on that. So this slide, again, is just to point out that, again, many of the early programs in Cornerstone were very system-driven and system-focused. We talked a lot in our last open forum, and we talk all the time about lessons learned and looking at ways we can improve our delivery and what we can do better in these programs. And we also, when we started looking at, human resources and payroll, yes, upgrading to a new system will definitely be helpful. But to really provide a benefit to the university and really move us into a better place, we said we really need to do a full transformation, including looking at all the processes and all the people, not just the system. So if we can jump to the next slide. When we talk about the phasing of the program, this is a multi-phase project. So right now we're focused on phase 1. You can see in phase 2, there's a lot more work to be done later. There's a phase 3, which we're still working on what goes into that. Our phase 1 right now, though, we have a go live of January 2025. That is a critical path go live for us, given for a multitude of reasons that have to do with our current existing legacy systems, as well as some other factors. We really need to have this new Oracle Human Cloud Management System online to start running our payroll by January of 2025. But you'll see there's a lot of things in phase 1, not just payroll, because all of those other items are required to run a proper payroll. We obviously have to have the core functions, the workforce piece, the benefits, compensation, absence management, and time and labor need to be tied in. So there's a lot of work to do between now and January of 2025. So we can jump to the next slide. One of the main pieces, looking at the people and process side of this transformation initiative, is our business process review. So as I said earlier, we completed the technical piece. We already have completed our technical requirements gathering. We are working on the functional piece, again, working with the end users and the units across the university that touch human resources and payroll every day. The current state assessment means we are going out and talking to all of them and really gathering all the information on how do you do your job today? Not just the system, not what keys do you hit. How do we handle things like talent acquisition and compensation and workforce planning across the university? As we know, there are a lot of disparate processes and a lot of different ways to do things in today's world. We're trying to identify all that. And we're going through this process. It's a lengthy process. We started in July. We're going to run for about 39 weeks. We have over 150 meetings scheduled. We'll spend about 500 hours simply talking about how folks do their job today in these areas. You can see the different areas we're talking about. Talent acquisition, we've already completed. Workforce planning, compensation, and benefits. We've gone through our working sessions already. We're talking about time and leave administration currently. And then we still have absence, payroll, and what we call cross module coming between now and March. These sessions are designed to really engage and include as many people across the university as we can. So in those 150 meetings and those 500 hours, we have over 170 direct participants that represent all 4 chancellor units, as well as all of our central administration offices, such as human resources and payroll, IT, PMO, IPNO, research, docs. All of our central administration colleagues and partners are joining us as well. Now, we know there's a lot more than 170 people that are going to be impacted by this program. So we also, that's our change agent network that we have in place. And working with these 170 folks, everything that comes out of these working sessions, we provide reports and feedback documentation to those folks so they can go back and share it with all of their peers and all of their constituents within their schools. We also have a very large network. Our change agent network has over 250 members. They help us distribute information and communications. Again, one of the reasons we asked the question in the poll earlier, we're sending information out, are folks getting it? So we're trying to put as many pieces in place as we can as the project team to get this information out early and consistently to make sure we build awareness and engagement, because the only way this program will be successful is if we all do it together. This cannot be done in a silo. These are not things that should be decided by a technical team or a project team. So we are really seeking to include as much feedback and input as we can from everyone across the university. So that's on the functional and on the business process review side. Now, because of the timeline we have, we don't have the luxury, I'll say, of focusing the next year, year and a half, simply looking at the processes and the way things are done today, which is the way we're going to do it on a student project. So concurrent with this, and you can jump to the next slide, Max, that's fine. Concurrent with those business process reviews, we've got to start the system side of the program at the same time. So where we are right now is we are in what's called interactive design prototypes. So what we're actually doing is walking through module by module, function by function of the system, of the new Oracle HCM system. And working with, again, a cross-university team, we developed what's called a design review board, as representatives from all 4 chancellor units, as well as all central administration units again. And this is really moving towards unification. I mentioned the word disparity a few minutes ago. Even on the system side, on the technical side, there are a lot of, there's shadow systems, there's third-party systems. There's a lot of different ways that folks get their jobs done. And what we're really looking again, moving towards that one Rutgers future that we were all striving for, unifying all of those practices, unifying those configurations, and agreeing on single, sustainable, efficient ways to do business moving forward in these areas. So, now we're getting into looking at very large populations of data, getting into testing and configurations. As we're going through those functional process reviews, we're bringing those recommendations in as well. These configurations and initial implementation of the system, pardon me, is underway and will complete by March. By March of 2024, we will begin testing the new system. Again, we talked about the launch in January 2025. We need to spend a good 3 to 4 months testing just the integrations in this new environment. Again, all these cloud systems, and we still have legacy systems in place. The ties and how they all work together is critical once we go live. So we will spend a solid 4 months just testing those integrations to make sure everything is working. At the same time, the functional teams will begin working on the future state business processes. So all that work we're doing for the 39 weeks and 150 meetings and the 500 hours is just current state. We will then take that along with understanding how the new system is going to work and go back and work with all those same folks across the university and work on re-engineering and redesigning future state business processes to align with the new technology once we launch. So between March and July, we will do integration testing. Between March and January, we'll do process re-engineering. And then in July of 2024, we will start parallel testing for our new payroll system. We will continue to run parallel, meaning we will continue to run payroll in PeopleSoft. We will also start running it in a test environment in the new Oracle HCM program. We will spend 6 months running parallel testing. All this work between March and December of 2024 is all to ensure, number one, that when we turn payroll on in the new system in January of 25, that it works. But also it allows us to get everybody involved, and by bringing everyone in and are already engaged, is preparing all of our end users too for adoption and make sure there's awareness out there and make sure everybody knows not only that this change is coming, but what it means. What is going to change? How does it impact me? How does it impact my job? How does it impact my constituents, my staff, my students, whatever the case may be? And when you think about the area of PubMap, human resources and payroll, this initiative will truly touch everyone at the university in one way or another. Some significantly, some ancillary, but it will impact everyone. So we are trying to broaden engagement and awareness across the university. We've got a lot of folks helping us. Thank you all, for those of you who know who you are, working with us every single day. This program, I will tell you, there are anywhere between 30 to 40 hours per week of meetings with all these different groups and these different constituents. So we've got a lot of support, a lot of engagement. It's a lot of work. It's hard work. It's taxing work. And we understand everyone has a day job to do too. And we're pulling a lot of time from them. But by working together, we can balance that. We can make sure that we're getting the right information when we need it, but also incorporating and involving everyone in decisions. So as things roll out, it's already been looked at and reviewed by all the impacted areas. And there's been agreements put in place that meets our requirements and that everything is going to go smoothly. So a lot of work still to be done, but thank you all for the work you put in and helped us with so far. Next slide now. So I will go back to Stephanie to see if there's any other questions. This last slide and this deck will be available after the sessions today. There are some websites out there you can all go to get more information. Our Cornerstone website has information on all the projects. And then we've got 4 websites stood up that are specific to individual projects. As Mike mentioned earlier, the Charter Accounts project is now part of the HR transformation. There's a separate website out there for that. And of course, our HR project, our student experience, and our Scarlet Journey also all have individual websites. And as Stephanie and her team continue to roll out newsletters and other forms of communication to provide updates as well. So I will pause there, Stephanie, to see if there's any questions from anyone.
Yep, we do. So the first question is, if you are doing the design and prototype at the same time that the BPR is occurring, how is the BPR informing design?
So because they're running concurrently, and again, with the 9 months of testing, we are taking the requirements out of the BPR as they go. And the way we have them structured, because everything is in individual modules within the system. So for example, we complete a BPR and then the IDP comes after that. So we're coordinating that as best we can, but there's also an understanding. And again, we know we have a tight timeline, but we have some time here. We continue to go back and look at things. So right now, the system has not been built. We have not even put hands on keyboard to start those first configurations. But the IDP teams or the design review board teams are a part of those interactive design and prototypes, work with the folks in the business process review function. So we are counter checking each other and putting checks and balances in place to make sure that any configuration decision or design decision that's going into the new system has been brought back to the stakeholders to verify we are meeting requirements.
The next question is, what if after 6 months, the parallel payroll testing is not working 100%?
Well, we hope we don't get there, but that's a good question. But that is also serious why we are taking that amount of time. We obviously have to ensure payroll is working 100%. I will tell you that, Mike Gower's on the phone. You may want to jump in here as well. We will do everything we can to make sure it's working, but there will be a key decision point. I would say, October, November, December timeframe, 2024, to validate and ensure and 100% confirm payroll is working. While we don't even want to think about this possibility, if it is not working and there are significant deficiencies or problems that cannot be corrected, we will have to figure out how to keep it running in our current legacy system. There will be challenges associated with that. It won't be perfect, but there would have to be a plan B, which we have kind of off to the side and look at. But that is part of the reason for all this testing. We will not turn on a new system for payroll that does not work.
Our next question, which happens to be our last question for now, is when the new HR payroll system launches on January 1, 2025, will the old system still run in shadow for further validation purposes, or will that be a hard shutdown for that system on December 31st, 2024?
So I will say for right now, and we will confirm the parameters and the guardrails of this over the coming months, it's going to be a combination. So our current system, which all of you know is PeopleSoft, will not be completely shut down on December 31st because there are a lot of pieces of this transformation initiative that are going to happen in subsequent phases. So some parts, some pieces of PeopleSoft need to actually remain operational, not just live. However, the primary and critical and core functions that move to Oracle HCM, certain pieces of PeopleSoft will be turned off because we don't want folks working in the old system. We're not going to run 2 new systems once we have launched and officially gone live. But eventually PeopleSoft will be permanently shut down. When that fully happens, we've not completely defined yet. But yes, parts of it will be turned off in PeopleSoft before we launch the Oracle system. And we will define that for everyone and give you specific details and parameters around that as we get closer.
Thank you, John. We don't have any additional questions at this time.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I thank you all very much. We do appreciate the time this afternoon. Hope you got something out of this session. If you do need more information, please contact us, contact the project management office or one of our project teams through the websites. We will also be asking you all to please quickly fill out a link. We love your feedback, love to hear what you thought about this session and how these forums are going, so we can improve them and make them more valuable for you going forward. So we ask you all, please take a minute to complete the link. Stephanie is dropping the link into the chat now. So if you can all please take that and take a minute to complete the survey, we'd appreciate it. If there are no further questions, we thank you all for your time. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you all very much.